What is up? We're back. NFL Week 2 has concluded. Well, at least the Sunday portion. Still have the Monday night game between Detroit and Green Bay. But we're going to go ahead and do our Week 2 power rankings. Post Week 2, of course. Now, here's what our list looked like last week. This was our original tier list for the season. And, wow, a lot can change in a week. A lot can change in a week, and that's just football. That's why we love it. But with that being said, some things will stay the same, I'm sure. And I just want to remind people, this is just my opinion. This is just my opinion. It's not set in stone. And another thing that's important to remember is that if a team is down here, say the Giants are down here, and then by week 4 they are 0-2 right now. And say by week 4 they are 2-2 and they look like they're doing pretty good, they may still be in this tier. They have to work their way up from this tier. If one of these teams loses, say, like Seattle, for example, is 1-0. They went to 1-1. They're not going to fall all the way to where the other 1-1 teams are. You know, they're going to work their way down. Some teams are going to work their way up. It's not going to be a sudden jump all the way to top tier or all the way to bottom tier for a top tier team. So just keep that in mind. Before we get into it, please leave a like on the video, comment, subscribe, turn your notifications on, all those good things so you don't miss any of these tier lists. And we'll be doing these every Tuesday tier list Tuesday. Sometimes on Mondays, like today, I'm very busy this week, so Monday is the only day I can really get this done, or else I would have waited till after the Monday night game. But yeah, this is a post wrap-up week 2 tier list for all of the NFL teams. I'm going to be ranking them in specific order. Let's get right on into it, shall we? At 32nd, and I said this last week, there's only one place for the Jacksonville Jaguars. It's 32nd. Urban Meyers having trouble getting that offense running in Jacksonville. I mean, they have so many problems that they need to work on. They're going to be sitting at 32nd. I can't even get into it. Below them, 31 is the New York Jets. Now, the Jets are the only team really in contention with the Jags for the bottom spot, in my opinion. At least right now, 2 weeks into the season. The Jets, I have them at 31st above the Jags. I mean, they played the Patriots. They lost. So, it is what it is. It was a horrible performance, especially by Zach Wilson with 4 interceptions. Oh, and I started Corey Davis in fantasy for 2 receptions. Struggles. Now at 30th, we are going to have a little bit of a change here. The New York Giants, of course, they're 0-2. They lost this week to the Washington football team in a very close game in which they looked pretty good in that game. But the team that I'm going to move did not look... They had moments. I'll be honest. Against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, the Atlanta Falcons, they're going to move down to 30th. They had moments early in the game. They looked pretty good. Cordero Patterson was all over the field. The defense struggled. The offense struggled to not turn the ball over. They ended up getting routed by the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, which is expected. Falcons fall to 0-2. They're going to be sitting at 30th. Now I'm going to make a little bit of a difference here, too. I think we're going to dump the Texans down to 29th. They lost Tyrod Taylor, and before the injury to Tyrod Taylor, I thought this team was for sure going up a tier. But once Tyrod Taylor went down, it seemed like the Browns really gained control of that game. It was a tight game up until that point. Davis Mills went in at quarterback. He threw a touchdown, I believe. He still struggled. The Browns found a way to win that game. Texans fall to 0-2. Oh, I'm sorry. The Texans fall to 1-1. Now, if they would have went 2-0, they would have jumped up one tier for sure. They would have jumped up to the next tier. I don't know how high. I mean, if they would have beat the Browns, I would have had to consider moving them up quite a bit, but they did not. They lost Tyrod Taylor in the process. I think that I could have ranked them higher if the Tyrod Taylor injury didn't happen. He was doing some Deshaun Watson type things there, carrying the team on his back. But yeah, 29th, Houston Texans. Next up, and look, it's already ranked. The New York Giants, they are 0-2. They lost to the Washington football team by 1 point. It was on a weird ending. There was a neutral zone infraction on the final kickoff. Washington missed. They get to re-kick. They make it. Giants lose. Last second field goal for the Washington football team. The Giants hung in there. Sterling Shepard did some good things. Daniel Jones did some good things as well, honestly, running the football especially. Saquon Barkley trying to get back into form, had one long run. Other than that, he was held to pretty low numbers. Giants are going to have to stay right there. And then, like I said, this is before the Monday Night Football game. Lions haven't played. I don't really see the Lions and Packers game changing too much on the tier list. If the Packers win, they can't really move from there. They definitely can't move up to where the tier list is going to be. They may move down just as a formality to some teams moving up, but I don't think it really would have changed much. I don't think we're learning too much about these two teams unless Detroit goes out there and just mollywops the Packers, and we're looking at a whole different situation, but that's quite unlikely. I also put a parlay on the Packers to just win outright in a 3-team parlay. I just need them to hit, and I'm a big Lions fan, as we mentioned last time. But money talks, man. Money talks. Let's go Packers. All right. And that tier is set. The bottom tier is set for this week. Next up, we're going to be doing some moving. Now, remember, week 1, the Bengals beat the Vikings. They were still right below them just because they moved up from this tier. Now, Vikings got to go right there. 26. They are 0-2. And it's crazy. It's crazy to say. They could be 2-0 based off of just special teams and field goals. I mean, if they would have made the last second field goal from 30 some odd yards, they would have defeated the Arizona Cardinals. Great game. Tough loss for the Vikings, man. I mean, they could honestly be 2-0 and sitting up here in contenders, but they are 0-2. They have to fall right there. It's the only applicable option. Next up will be the Cincinnati Bengals. Defeated the Vikings week 1, lost their week 2 matchup in a tough match against the Bears. You know, Joe Burrow threw 3 interceptions and about 4 passes at some point in the game. They kind of lost momentum, and the Bears finished out the game pretty strong. The Bears ended up winning 20-17. Close game, but Bengals move up as a formality to the Vikings dropping 0-2. Now, this team right here. I put them here before the Monday Night Football game against the Ravens last week, just as a starter for the season. And now they're 2-0. Now they're 2-0 in the span of a week. In the span of 7 days since I recorded my last tier list, they are 2-0. And wow, this team has to move up here, but we'll worry about that later. Now to the 24 spot. This team right here is going to have to go right here, man. We got to move the Colts, and we'll throw them up here for now. The Raiders. We got to move the Colts down to 24. They're 0-2. I know they lost to Seattle week 1. Tough matchup. And then they lose a close game to the LA Rams. 27-24. The Rams defeat the Colts. It was a close matchup pretty much for the whole game. They just couldn't get their offense going. And the reason I'm dropping them down so far is because Carson Wentz went out again with a lower leg injury. Looks like it's that foot, that ankle. Man, it's tough. It's tough. They're going to be down their quarterback. I got to move them down that much due to just that alone. Michael Pittman looked good. Had a lot of receiving yards. Jonathan Taylor, they got to get him going again. They had Marlon Mack in the game quite a bit. Just stick to what you do, man. That's what the Colts need to do. Hopefully Wentz is okay. But we are not 100% sure if he is yet. Next up, or next down, will be the Miami Dolphins. Now, the Dolphins, man. They looked awful. They looked helpless. I think they lost 35-0 against the Buffalo Bills. I'm not even joking. The Dolphins. Now, I have no words. They beat the Patriots week 1. Very close game. They won off of pretty much a Damian Harris fumble. And they just looked helpless. Will Fuller not coming back, at least not last week. Who knows if he'll be back this week. Flores doesn't even know if he'll be back for the season. It's tough times in Miami. Next on this tier list right here. Ooh. I mean, these teams got to go up. Yeah, the Bears got to go right here. Now, the Bears won their matchup against the Bengals, another team in this tier. It was a close game. They won by 3 points. Allen Robinson with the early touchdown. Andy Dalton did go out with a leg injury. They had Justin Fields come in, ran the ball some, passed the ball some. I don't hate the move if Fields has to stay in. I think the more experience he can get, could really turn into good things for him later in this year or next season. But yeah, they're going to stay in the almost there tier. Next up, we have the Washington football team. And I'm just going to move these teams up for now. The Washington football team has to go down to this tier. They won a close matchup against the Giants on Thursday Night Football. Again, they lost a close matchup last week to the Chargers. This is a good football team. I just worry. Really, it's just the other teams above them have just impressed me more. I think this team can definitely move back up here. But for now, they got to go in this tier. Now, to start off this tier, I'm just going to be honest. This team bumped from down here to up here. This team, the Washington football team, bumped from up here to down there. I'll lead off this tier with the Philadelphia Eagles as playoff hopefuls. They started off 1-0, and then they lost a very competitive match to the San Francisco 49ers. It was a tough game, great defense from both sides. Philadelphia's defense is a lot better than I gave them credit for, and their offense seems to have some weapons that can really, really work out. Jalen Hurts looks incredible. I underrated this team, and I'm sorry, Eagles fans. Mwah, mwah. You know I love you. Eagles are going up into this tier right here. Next up is going to be the New England Patriots. We're going to move them down right here. They're moving down a little bit because a couple of other teams are moving on up. They looked good in week 2. Did what they needed to do against a bad Jets football team. They defeated them 25-6. Looked pretty good while doing it. Damian Harris had a beast mode type run. Mac Jones was efficient. Yeah, Patriots, good performance. Defense really balled out for me. Had them in fantasy. Got the interceptions on Zach Wilson, 4 of them. Did a great job on defense. Yeah, New England Patriots staying in this tier. Next on up is going to be the Denver Broncos. They moved up from almost their tier into playoff hopefuls. They're 2-0. The reason they're ahead of these teams is just because they're 2-0, honestly. This week they played the Jacksonville Jaguars, and it was 23-13. They got a 10-point win over them. Jags offense just looks horrible. Denver looked good. Got a run defense that's formidable. Denver 2-0. Congratulations. Next up, at about the midway point in our tiers, is going to be the Carolina Panthers. They are also 2-0. Christian McCaffrey got a touchdown. Feed CMC, and they can be in tight games. They looked really good against the Saints. Now, the Saints were down 8 coaches due to COVID protocol. 8 coaches, that's a lot, man. That's a lot. Little bit of an asterisk. Not too much because the Panthers did look good. Sam Darnold's kind of balling out. Just shows that the Jets, man, they just can't figure it out at quarterback. And yeah, I can't move them any higher. Their week 1 win was against the Jets, A good win against the Saints for the Panthers. Next up at number 16, another one right in the middle of this tier list is going to be the Los Angeles Chargers. Yes, they got to fall down to this tier. Really, they're only falling that much because a couple of teams had nice wins this week, and they lost. They're 1-1. It's hard for me to move them down this much, but I think they'll work their way back up. They lost a close game against the Cowboys, who looked good week 1 against the Bucks. Yeah, the Chargers just got to fall down to this tier for now. They look like a good football team, pretty well-rounded. And yeah, man, Justin Herbert, I think he'll continue to improve. I think his numbers will improve this season as from what they are right now. Mike Williams kind of balling out too. Los Angeles Chargers at number 16. So number 15 now, we are going to move, wow, week 1 just rout the Packers. I'm thinking, wow, I underrated this team in the preseason. No, I didn't. I rated them perfectly fine. Coming in at number 15, the New Orleans Saints. Like I said, I want to preface this before I get into the game. They were down 8 coaches due to COVID. Like that's a big burden to handle. Winston didn't play too great. Jameis couldn't really get anything going. They lost to this team right here, the Panthers. I still have them ahead of the Panthers, just I think they're the better team. They'll play again later in the season. We'll see how they are with their full coaching staff. Not too much of an excuse. They didn't look good, but the Saints fall down a tier to the playoff hopeful tier at number 15. Now below the Saints will go the Dallas Cowboys. Dallas Cowboys pretty much in the same spot. They're actually a little bit higher than they were last time. Now they started 0-1 in the middle of the tier list strictly because I said they would win their division, and I still believe that. And they ended up going out there and defeating the Los Angeles Chargers, as previously mentioned, in a close game. Greg Zuerlein makes a 56-yard field goal to bank it at the end. Comeback win for the Cowboys. Close game, very competitive. They're going to stay close to the Chargers in this tier. Both playoff hopeful teams. And Dallas, who knows, they may work their way up. Next on in this tier is going to be right here. The Las Vegas Raiders, 2-0, defeating the Baltimore Ravens and the Pittsburgh Steelers, 2 teams that are well up here. Now, why are they in this tier? They're starting hot. Derek Carr looks good. A little bit of an injury scare in this game. They're airing the football out. Josh Jacobs he didn't play this week, so they had Kenyon Drake in. He's been dealing with injuries. Jacobs has. Good football team. They're going to be in close games this year. They're going to be able to pull some out. They're going to lose some. John Gruden really trying to get that comeback story going. The Raiders are sitting at the top of this tier, and they could definitely work their way up here easily with 1 win. The only reason they're right here is because I underrated them going into the season, and they were down here. Can't move them up too high right away, but they're definitely working their way up. And I will not disrespect them. If they start 3-0, they're going up quite a bit higher. So keep that in mind. Next on up in this tier list is going to be the Tennessee Titans, and we're actually going to move them up to the Contenders tier. Of course, they lost to the Arizona Cardinals week 1, got routed, but great comeback win against a tough Seattle team. By the way, Julio Jones caught that touchdown in the end zone. As a Seattle fan, I will say that out loud on oath. But yeah, good comeback win. Derrick Henry just balled out, like 190 yards rushing, and then like 80 or 90 yards receiving as well. Derrick Henry balled out in the second half of this game. Gave them a fighting chance, and yeah, they pulled it off against the Seahawks in overtime. Great win for the Tennessee Titans. Julio Jones going again. Looked great. This team really looked a lot better than they did in week 1. Now, we're going to go ahead and move the Packers down a little bit, just as a formality. These teams are going to be staying up ahead of them. They haven't played yet. It's Monday night. Or it's Monday. The game will be Monday night against the Detroit Lions. Like I said, if they beat the Lions, I don't think we learned too much about them. So I'm going to have to throw them right here. Next on this tier list is going to be the team I rate as the number 10 team in the league. Now we're to the top 10. It is going to be the Pittsburgh Steelers. I'm going to throw them down in this tier. Tough loss for the Steelers. Tough loss against the Las Vegas Raiders. Man, Raiders are 2-0 is impressive. Steelers look pretty good. Deontay Johnson went down at the end of that game. Another reason why I'm throwing them down quite a bit. Yeah, I mean, they're almost there, man. As contenders, not like almost there as in this tier, but they just need to work on a couple things. Their defense is still solid. Had a tough defensive game against the team that airs it out in the Raiders, but I think they'll bounce back. And also in the same division as the Pittsburgh Steelers, the Baltimore Ravens. Man, I wanted to put them higher. I really did. They lost week 1, a close game to the Raiders. And then in week 2, they are losing 35-24 against the Kansas City Chiefs. Fourth quarter starting. I have work at 6 a.m. I decide to go to sleep. I wake up, check my phone. First thing I see is 36-35 victory for the Baltimore Ravens. Lamar Jackson apparently balled out when I went to sleep because I went back and found the end of this game. Watched the highlights. Lamar Jackson really balled out. Clyde Edwards-Helaire had a late fumble. Baltimore Ravens come back and defeat the Kansas City Chiefs. Congratulations. I mean, they could go higher for sure. If they would have won that game against the Raiders, I mean, they're up in this tier, no doubt. So we'll see where they fall next week. If they get a big win, who knows? Who knows? They may go up to the top tier. Next to fall down out of this tier is going to be the Seattle Seahawks. I really despise saying it so much. So much. Big Seahawks fan. Had a 14-point lead in the second half against the Tennessee Titans, and they blow it. They blow it. You know, Tyler Lockett had a big play. Russ did his thing. Chris Carson with 2 touchdowns, but the Seahawks couldn't pull it off. Congratulations to the Tennessee Titans for coming back and winning that game. Seahawks fall down a tier. Yeah, unfortunate. Now, above the Seattle Seahawks, we're going to throw the Buffalo Bills. The Buffalo Bills had a nice victory against a worthless, a hopeless Miami Dolphins team. They won 35-0. Absolutely mollywopped the Dolphins. The Bills were winning most of the game week 1 against the Steelers. Of course, they lose that game late. Yeah, I mean, the Bills have a high ceiling. They can end up in that top tier, no doubt. I feel like they're going to keep winning football games. Devin Singletary looked great at running back. Josh Allen doing his thing. Stephon Diggs getting a touchdown. Now, I'm just moving these teams up here. As you can remember, we had 6 teams up here last time. We're going to keep 6, but the number 6 spot is going to go to the Cleveland Browns. They had a tough-fought game against the Houston Texans. Like, that's tough. That's tough. And Tyrod Taylor looked incredible. Baker Mayfield got banged up some in that game. Kareem Hunt didn't get much action. Jarvis Landry went down. ODB was out. And it was a tough-fought game for this Cleveland Browns team, but hey, they get the win. They're 1-1 with a close loss to the Kansas City Chiefs, in which they blew a big lead early on. Can't really fault the Browns too much. They look like a really solid team all around. Offense, defense, everywhere. Browns come in at number 6. But to break into the top 5 is the Arizona Cardinals. They break into the top 5 from down in this tier last time. Shout out to the Cardinals. Now really, I mean, going to get into it. This team down here, the Minnesota Vikings, missed a last-second field goal to beat. They would have defeated the Arizona Cardinals. And the Cardinals would have been 1-1. The Vikings would have been 1-1. They would have met like right around here. But no. Vikings missed the kick. The Cardinals win the game. They look good while doing it, even though it was a close game. They got to move up to the top 5. Next up, we're going to keep it right here. The San Francisco 49ers. They are 2-0. Had to win week 1 against the Lions. Pretty much blew them out. I know it got close at the end, but they blew them out. And then in week 2, they go on to defeat the Philadelphia Eagles. It was a close game. Good defense on both sides. Jimmy G had big plays when he needed them. The running back committee worked. They all got injured, though. I did notice that all the running backs got banged up in this game. I don't know what it is about San Francisco running backs, but definitely came out of there with some undisclosed injuries, and we got to figure out what those are and get that addressed. George Kittle doing great in the blocking. Not as much in the receiving game. I would like to see him get involved as a fantasy owner of his. But yeah, San Francisco 49ers at number 4. Coming in at number 3 is actually, it's going to be, I know I said I was going to have AFC team, NFC team as the top 2, but no. I gotta move the Rams up, man. But yeah, the Kansas City Chiefs at number 3 lost a game that they had in the bag. End up losing to the Baltimore Ravens, who are directly below them, actually. Yeah, I mean, just blew it. And then week 1, they came back, looked great in the comeback against the Cleveland Browns, but they blow the lead this time. Lose. Now they're 1-1. Mahomes looked good, though. I mean, they look good. Clyde Edwards-Helaire did not look so good. With the fumble at the end of the game, the defense really crumbled. they're going to move down from 2 to 3. I still think their ceiling is Super Bowl all the way. So they'll be at number 3. Number 2 is going to be the Los Angeles Rams. It's the Rams. Matthew Stafford, Sean McVay, they're clicking. Stafford's looking good. He's cooking. Stafford looking like an MVP type candidate. Darrell Henderson a little banged up after week 2. He was looking great while he was in the game. He looked great last week. The whole offense looks great. Cooper Kupp, prime form. Cooper Kupp looking phenomenal, doing things on that offense. Still have dangerous weapons like Robert Woods. You have Van Jefferson coming up. Sony Michel is the backup running back. I mean, this team's looking great. And then defensively, of course, this team is just so good. Jalen Ramsey, lockdown corner. Got Aaron Darnold coming off the edge. Great football team. The LA Rams move up to number 2. And then number 1, same as last week, Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They looked great. They had close moments against the Falcons, who are ranked number 30th. They had close moments, but they end up pulling forward. Their defense makes some big plays. They end up winning by multiple touchdowns against the Falcons, as they should. Tom Brady looked phenomenal. 2 touchdowns to Gronkowski, 2 to Mike Evans, 1 to Godwin, 5 touchdowns for TB12. And yeah, the Bucs got to stay at number 1 in my opinion. And that is it. Thank you for watching. These were the Week 2 NFL Power Rankings. And I must preface, post-Week 2 NFL Power Rankings and tier lists as well. We'll be doing these every Monday or Tuesday. I'll try to do it on Tuesdays after the Monday night game, but this week I'm just so swamped this week. I had to get it done on a Monday. And yeah, I hope everyone has a great, blessed rest of your week. Thumbs up this video, and please subscribe to the channel if you so desire. Deuces, everyone.